The light is changing on the wall again. It does that. It does that every day, of course. But I only seem to notice it now, in these hours. It starts as a pale, watery gray in the morning, stiff and cold. And by this time of the afternoon, it becomes something thicker. Amber almost. Heavy. It catches the dust motes floating above the carpet. I watch them. They swirl in currents of air that I cannot feel on my skin. Up and down, dancing in the silence. It is remarkable, really, how much movement there is in a room that feels so still. I am sitting in the chair, the one with the velvet armrests that have gone bald in spots where my elbows have rubbed them for 20 years. Or is it 30? I lose track. The fabric feels rough against my fingertips, like the skin of a peach that has dried out. I rub the bald spot with my thumb, back and forth. It is a rhythmic thing, a comfort, I suppose. My tea is on the table beside me. It's in the white cup, the one with the small chip near the rim. I poured it. Oh, it must have been an hour ago. It will be cold now. A cold brown pool. I should drink it, I shouldn't waste it. But the effort of reaching out, of lifting the saucer, of bringing it to my lips, it seems like a very long journey just now. So I sit, and I watch the light move across the bookshelf. It crawls. It touches the spines of the books, one by one, highlighting the gold lettering on the old encyclopedias I haven't opened since. Well, since before she died. Maybe longer. They stand there like soldiers from a war that ended a long time ago. They hold answers, I suppose. That's what books are for. Answers to questions about geography and history and the anatomy of beetles. It is funny, strange, I mean, how we spend the first half of our lives clamoring for answers. We want to know. We demand to know. We want to know who we are, what we will be, who will love us. We want the map. We want the certainty of a sturdy floor beneath our feet. I remember that hunger. It sat in my chest like a tightly wound spring. I walked faster then. I spoke louder. I thought that if I just gathered enough facts, enough certainties, I would be safe. I would be complete. But now, sitting here, with the light turning to that deep, bruised purple of early evening, the answers don't seem to matter much. They have evaporated, like the steam from that tea. What remains, surprisingly, are the questions. Not the big shouting questions of youth. Not the why am I here sort of things. No, these are smaller, quieter. They are stubborn little things that sit in the corners of the room. I find myself wondering about a dog I saw once. This must have been 50 years ago, maybe more. I was waiting for a bus in a city whose name I'm not sure I remember. It might have been Chicago. It was raining, a hard driving rain that bounced off the pavement. And across the street, tied to a lamppost, was a dog, a brown mongrel. It was soaking wet, shivering, looking at the door of a bakery, just looking, waiting. I got on my bus. The doors hissed shut. I rode away. And today, 50 years later, sitting in this dry, warm room, I wonder, did the owner come back? Did that dog get dry? Did he get a bit of sausage? It is a foolish thing to wonder. The dog is long dead. The owner is likely dead. The bakery is probably a phone store now. But the question stays. It floats there. Did he get warm? It is an echo. That is what my mind is full of now. Echoes. My hand is resting on my knee. I look at it. The veins are so prominent now, like blue ropes under parchment. The skin is spotted. It doesn't look like my hand. It looks like my father's hand. I remember looking at his hands when I was a boy, thinking they looked like maps of difficult terrain. Now I carry the map. I try to make a fist, and the knuckles protest. A dull ache, a familiar companion. I wonder about the people I passed in the street, the thousands of faces, the blur of humanity. There was a woman in a green coat on a train once. She was crying, quietly, just staring out the window at the passing fields, tears tracking through her powder. I didn't speak to her. We are taught not to intrude. The shadows are stretching now, long, thin fingers reaching across the rug. The pattern of the rug is faded, reds turning to rust, blues turning to gray. I should turn on the lamp. The switch is on the cord, just there, behind the table leg. But I don't want to break the mood. I don't want to startle the silence. If I turn on the light, the room becomes defined again. The corners become sharp. The dust becomes dirt. In the dimness, everything is softer. Everything is forgivable. I think about the houses I lived in, the first apartment, the smell of the hallway, boiled cabbage and floor wax. There was a crack in the ceiling of the bedroom that looked like a river delta. I used to stare at it before falling asleep. I wonder if it's still there. I wonder if someone else stares at it now, worrying about their job or their lover or the rent. Do houses hold the memories of the people who leave them? Or do the walls just get painted over, layer upon layer of white latex, sealing us in like fossils? I had a key, a small brass key. I found it in a drawer the other day when I was looking for a stamp. I held it in my palm. It was heavy for its size. I have absolutely no idea what it opens. A suitcase? A diary? A door to a house I haven't visited in 40 years? I turned it over and over. I almost threw it away, but I couldn't. To throw away the key felt like admitting that the lock no longer exists. And maybe it doesn't, but the question, what did you guard? That keeps the key in the drawer. My knee gives a sharp twinge, a reminder. I am here, it says. I am wearing out. I shift my weight. The chair groans beneath me, a wooden sound, old wood and old bones, conversing in the twilight. I remember a conversation I had with my brother. He's been gone 10 years now. We were sitting on a porch somewhere, drinking something cold. The ice clinked against the glass. He was talking about regret. He said he regretted not learning to sail. It seemed such a specific, trivial thing. He lived in Ohio. Where would he sail? But he was adamant. He looked at the horizon and said, I should have known the wind. I didn't understand him then. I told him it was never too late. The standard comfort. But he just shook his head. He knew. It wasn't about the boat. It was about a version of himself that never happened. A ghost life. We all have them, I suppose. The versions of us that turned left instead of right. The man I would have been if I had taken that job in London. The man I would have been if I hadn't been so afraid of being foolish. Where do those people go? The unlived selves? Do they gather somewhere? Are they waiting for us at the end to show us what we missed? Or are they just smoke? I drift. My eyes are heavy. It is that time of day when the boundary between being awake and being asleep gets thin, porous. Memories slide through the gaps. I smell lilac, suddenly, vividly. Lilac and wet earth. It must be from the garden outside, though the window is closed, or perhaps it is just a memory so strong it has hijacked my nose. It takes me back to the garden gate, the one with the latch that always stuck. You had to lift it up and jiggle it. Clack, clack. I can feel the cold iron in my hand. I am waiting for someone. Who? The anticipation is there, a flutter in the stomach, but the face is blurry. Is it my mother, a sweetheart, a friend? I can't see them. I only feel the waiting, the intense, vibrating hope of the arrival. That is what stays, isn't it? The feeling. The facts fall away like dead leaves. The dates, the names, the street numbers. They dry up and blow off. But the feeling of the cold iron latch and the smell of lilac and the hope that stays, it is scorched into the iron. I gaze at the window. The reflection of the room is starting to appear in the glass as the outside world darkens. I see the lamp, the back of my chair, the white smudge of my own hair, a ghost in the glass. I wonder if I was kind enough. That is a question that comes often now, usually around 4 a.m., but sometimes now in the evening. Was I kind? I was polite. I was responsible. I paid my bills. I held doors. But was I kind? Did I look people in the eye enough? There was a man who worked in the post office. He had a stammer. I used to get impatient. I didn't say anything. I wasn't rude, but I tapped my foot. I looked at my watch. I wanted him to hurry. I can feel that impatience now, echoing back from decades ago. And it makes me feel small, ashamed. He was struggling to get the words out, to do his job, and I was worried about 5 minutes of my time. What did I do with those 5 minutes that was so important? I cannot recall, but I recall his flustered face. I recall the way he lowered his eyes. I wish I could go back, not to change the world, just to stand there, still, and smile at him, to say, take your time. I am in no hurry. But we are always in a hurry when we are young. We are rushing toward this, toward the chair, toward the silence. And now that I am here, I have all the time in the world. But the post office is gone, and the man is gone. The tea is definitely cold. I can tell just by looking at the surface. It has that stillness, dead water. I should get up and pour it into the sink, rinse the cup, dry it with the checkered towel, put it back on the hook. That is the routine. That is the structure. If you lose the structure, you lose everything. But just another minute. I listen to the house. It settles. The pipes tick as they cool down. The refrigerator hums in the kitchen, a steady electric drone. It is the heartbeat of the modern house. If it stops, the silence becomes too big. I think about the silence after the war, not the political silence, the personal one, the silence in the kitchen when the radio was turned off. We just sat there eating bread. We didn't know how to talk about what we had seen or what we hadn't seen. So we talked about the weather. We talked about the price of flour. We built a bridge of small, meaningless words over a canyon of horror. And we walked across it day after day, pretending we didn't look down. Did we do the right thing? Should we have screamed? Should we have wept and torn our clothes? Or was the quiet bread the only way to survive? I ask myself this. I look at the rug. The pattern swirls. No answer. Just the endurance of the weave. I remember a blue dress, electric blue, silk. It rustled. It made a sound like wind in dry grass when she moved. She was dancing. I was watching from the doorway. I wasn't dancing. I was never a dancer. I was the watcher. I am still the watcher. I watched her spin, laughing at something someone said, her head thrown back, the line of her throat. I wanted to ask her to dance. My feet twitched in my shoes, but I stayed in the doorway. Why? Fear, dignity, the heavy anchor of being sensible? I stayed, and the song ended, and the moment passed, and the blue dress moved on to another room, another life. I wonder if she ever thought of me. Probably not. Why would she? I was the fixture in the doorway, the wooden post. But I think of her. I think of the blue. It was so bright it almost hurt the eyes. It is strange how memory edits. It cuts out the boredom. It cuts out the toothaches and the long waits in traffic and the flu. It leaves these bright, sharp fragments, a blue dress, a wet dog, a key, a stammer, a collection of shards, and I am sitting here trying to glue them together into a vase, into something that holds water, but the glue is dry. My eyes wander to the photograph on the mantel. It is shadowed now, but I know it by heart. Me and, well, friends, a picnic. We look so young. Our shirts are unbuttoned at the collar. We are squinting into the sun. We look immortal. We look like we own the grass we are sitting on. We didn't know that the grass owns us. It is just waiting. I feel a draft, a cold breath of air around my ankles. The house is old. It breathes. It has gaps in the window frames where the caulking has dried and cracked. I should fix that. I should get the ladder and the gun and seal it up. But I won't. I know I won't. I will pull the blanket closer. I will wear thicker socks. The ladder seems like a towering impossibility now, a monument to a time when I could climb. There is a peace in giving up certain things. That is a secret they don't tell you. They tell you to fight. Do not go gentle, the poet said. He was probably young when he wrote that, or angry. But there is a sweetness in the going gentle, in saying, no, I will not climb the ladder. I shift again. My back is stiff. The stiffness is like a corset, holding me upright. If it went away, I might just dissolve, puddle into the velvet. I think of a letter I wrote but never sent. It is in the box in the closet. The paper is yellowed now. The ink is probably fading. I wrote it to, well, it doesn't matter who. I wrote it in anger, in righteous fury. I poured all my grievance onto the page. I felt powerful writing it. I folded it, put it in the envelope, licked the stamp, and then I didn't post it. I left it on the hall table. Then I moved it to the desk. Then the drawer. I am glad I didn't send it. The anger is gone, completely gone. I can't even remember exactly what the offense was. Something about money or a slight? It is smoke, but if I had sent it, the words would have landed. They would have struck bone. They would have broken something that couldn't be fixed. The silence of the unsent letter. That is a good silence, a mercy. How many mercies have I been granted that I didn't notice? How many times did the car not hit me? How many times did the virus not take hold? How many times did someone forgive me for a sharp word that I didn't even know I'd spoken? I am a vessel of invisible luck. We all are. We walk through a minefield every day, and when we get to the other side, we complain about the blisters on our feet. I chuckle, a dry sound in the throat. It sounds like paper crinkling. The room is dark now, proper dark. The window is a square of deep, deep blue. The streetlights must be on, casting that artificial orange glow on the sidewalk. I like the twilight, but I don't like the deep night as much as I used to. The night is too long now. It asks too much. It demands that you sleep, and sleep is elusive. It plays hide and seek. You catch the hem of its garment, and it slips away, leaving you staring at the ceiling, listening to the house tick. I ask myself, what am I waiting for? I am not waiting for a visitor. The phone rarely rings. I am not waiting for a package. I am not waiting for a revelation. I suppose I am just witnessing. That is the word. I am the witness to this room, to this specific hour, to the way the shadow of the lamp harp falls across the table. If I am not here to see it, does it exist? I feel a hunger, not for food. My appetite is small these days. Toast and tea is enough. No, a hunger for texture. I want to touch something rough, bark, stone, the face of a dog. The world has become so smooth, so visual. I want the grit. I reach out and run my fingernail along the seam of my trousers. A small, sharp sensation. Real. I remember my mother's hands. They were always busy, shelling peas, darning socks, kneading dough. She was never still. Idle hands are the devil's workshop, she said. I don't believe in the devil, but I know what she meant. The hands anchor the mind. If the hands are moving, the mind can rest in the motion. If the hands are still, the mind runs wild. It runs into the past. It runs into the dark woods. My hands are still now. They lie in my lap like two sleeping animals. They have done their work. They have hammered nails and signed checks and held babies and buried parents. They are tired. They have earned their rest. But the mind is still running. It is a child that refuses to go to bed. One more story, it says. Just one more. Do you remember the taste of the snow? Do you remember the sound of the ocean that summer in Maine? The rocks were gray and pink. The water was so cold it made your bones ache. We stood there, trousers rolled up, screaming with the cold and the joy of it, the salt on our lips. Where did that joy go? It didn't leave. It just settled. It went deep. It is in the marrow now. It isn't a firework anymore. It is a coal, glowing quietly under the ash. You have to blow on it to see the red. I blow on it now with these thoughts, and I feel a little warmth, a little spark. I am alone here, but the room is full. It is full of the people I was, the boy with the skinned knee, the young man with the arrogance, the father with the worry, the widower with the grief. They are all here, standing in the shadows, watching me. We are a crowd of one. I should sleep. I should really try to sleep. But the chair is comfortable, and the dark is velvety, and the questions are not done with me yet. What was the name of that song? The one she hummed in the kitchen. Where is the other cufflink? Did I say I love you enough? Does the tree I planted still stand? I lean my head back against the cushion. I close my eyes. The questions swirl like the dust motes. They don't need answers. They just need to be asked. That is their purpose, to keep the mind turning, to keep the heart beating, to keep the silence from becoming empty. I breathe in. The air is cool. I breathe out. The tea is cold. The light is gone. The world spins on, and I am here, still here, listening to the echo, waiting for the morning gray to wash the window again. Just waiting.